Well, Cramage, looks like you were right. This is a Husqvarna lawnmower. After this video, I'm going to attempt to get the rest of these mowers started and going. This one here, I'm not going to sell. The deck's a little too tweaked for my liking. They really did some redneck repairs to this one. In fact, as you can see here, they made it so you can't even move this one. Looks like they tried to do some welding on it at one point. As you can see here and here, maybe in the inside of it. I don't know if they were trying to replace or fix holes. I have to go ahead and flip it over for you guys. Looks like what they did was they probably ripped off this whole end right here. In fact, this is one of the decks that's cracked. So what probably happened was when it cracked, this piece here was involved in it. Probably messed up or ripped it off. So they either modified the old one to put it back on, or got another piece of sheet of metal and just welded it back in. But I'm amazed, honestly, that they went through the trouble of fixing it in the first place. I really am. I mean, given that I've seen so many other lazy repairs on these lawnmowers, it's actually a considerable amount of work that they went through all that trouble to fix this thing. And this is possibly the worst one out of the bunch. Now, that being said, this mower is a little too far gone. I'm not going to sell this deck on to somebody else with that kind of damage done to it, and being the fact that these are more than likely messed up. So what I'm probably going to end up doing is just leaving the motor on the deck and seeing if I can get the motor even going or not. I'm going to check the flywheel key on this thing to make sure it's okay. And I've got a whole bunch of parts off that GCV 190 that might end up working on this. I already checked the crankshaft length on this. It's too long. It won't work on my pressure washer that I've got. So still looking for one of those. All the wheels on this are good, so I'll end up taking that stuff off. These springs on this are good. So I've actually already got a mower or deck that needs new springs, so I might go ahead and see if I can get those put on. And this little guy, I've got a mower that needs one of those. So there's a lot of stuff that I can get off this deck, and I'll probably just end up, taking the deck after I take all the parts off of it that I need to the scrap metal recycler. Now that little block right here that I was telling you guys about, this mower needs one. I don't know why it was taken off in the first place, but without it, the handle goes like that. Now the other thing that's kind of funny with these is not one of them have a blade. The people that I got them from, for some reason, took the blades off these three but left the blades on the other ones. I have no idea why. So I do have a blade over there on another mower that is going to turn out to be a scrap one because it's just got too many issues, and it's got an intermittent starting issue. I just really don't want to sell it on to somebody like that, so might as well just take it as a write-off and start stripping parts off of it. I've kind of already done that, so it's not too big of a deal. But I've got that blade, so I'll be throwing that blade on these mowers here to see if they'll even work, because the blade acts as a flywheel. That's what they're going to be used for. So if it turns out that both of these are good, I'll be buying one new blade for 2 mowers, and I'll just use that blade on one of these. So let's go ahead and get started. Well, so I guess this one's first in line. I just threw the blade on it, threw that little handle brake on the side on it. Now this is one of those auto choke ones. I don't really like these, but I figured I might as well give it a chance to see if it works out or not. Well, I do give every lawnmower I get in a chance, provided it's in good shape, and this one's in good enough shape. Honestly, if I can get this thing going, it's probably about an $80 or $100 lawnmower. Some of you guys probably won't believe that, but in my area they seem to go for about that much in this condition. Now they got the blade on it, now I could properly check and see if the flywheel key's broken or not. So I'm going to take off the air filter and the little flap there, spray some starting fluid in it and see what happens. So I got the air filter off. Let's go ahead and spray some of this in and see what happens. cord back in. So we might have a broken flywheel key. This is one of those ones that I kind of had a feeling the flywheel key is broken. I do have some extra ones on hand that I repurposed from other lawnmowers. So let's go ahead and pull this thing off and have a look at it. So the first thing we're going to want to do is remove this top plastic cover. What you want to get to is you want to pull this whole unit off. And in order to do that, you got to remove your gas tank. Removable, so let's go ahead and remove that. I'm going to have to replace this pull cord too if need be. So now we can go ahead and remove this. Trying to get all this stuff out of the way. So let's go ahead and remove this. I know that probably should be clean. Oh well. And it's off. Oh yeah, flywheel key's broke. So if you guys look closely, you can see you have your flywheel key right here. And then you have the keyhole where it's supposed to go into right here. Now, it's obviously sheared in half. And I do have an extra one on hand. And if that one doesn't work, I have another lawnmower I can get one out of. But the whole point of this thing is to keep this part of the flywheel lined up over here. Because your flywheel is sort of like a timing belt or a timing chain. It keeps the motor in sequence and it keeps the proper timing for ignition and, you know, things like that. So when this is off a little bit, that affects your timing. And in most cases, when your flywheel key is broken, it'll either run very roughly if it runs at all, or in the case like this one, it doesn't want to run at all, and in fact it wants to suck the pull cord back in. Now if this was any worse, it could do all sorts of things. It could try and start, and it could really hurt when it goes and sucks the cord back in. So that's kind of something you want to go ahead and fix. So in this case, what I'm going to do is just scoot it around the side here so the magnets aren't in the way. So I had to stop the camera to adjust things a little bit. With a few good whacks, it comes right off. Just got to rock it back and forth now. And we can see the little flywheel key has definitely seen some better days. Now this is what the flywheel key is supposed to look like. A little silver bar like this. It's not actually made out of silver. And then here's the broken one. Drop that piece, but oh well. So let's go ahead and stick this thing back on the mower. Start it up and put it all back together, of course, and see what happens. When in doubt, of course, look at your old one if you still have the pieces. And I just dropped that piece, of course. But as I said, just look at the old one. Look at which way it's cut. You look at the top here, you can see these two edges are beveled. That's obviously the thicker side, or it obviously goes widthwise up against your crankshaft. Now you can see I've got the new one put on. Going to kind of make sure it's not going to go anywhere. It really shouldn't. Grab our flywheel. Of course the magnets are on that side, so that's going to probably be a little bit of a pain. And then just kind of, you can go in through the top, which I did have to do this way. I'm going to go ahead and rotate it around so the magnets are off the magneto. And this could kind of be a pain to get back on properly, but you got to remember too that when you go back on with the little cup and retaining nut, it'll cinch everything back down. So with everything back in place, go ahead and get your little retaining cup and your nut. This one, there wasn't a washer in it, oddly enough. So go ahead and put your nut back on the correct way. In this case, it's the shiny side down. Cinch her back down. So now I'm going to go ahead and release the blade brake. Looks like it's lined up just fine. So you can rest assured that our flywheel is back down. Let's go ahead and put all this back together. I'm not 100% sure that I'm going to have to clean out the carb, but I might do it just for good measure. I'll go ahead and clean the carb out. Alright, so now that everything's been put back together and installed, let's see if we can start it. Now I was just going to clean this thing out and be done with it. I knew it needed to be cleaned, but I didn't know it was this bad. You guys can see that. See all that gungy stuff? Butterfly valve didn't even really want to move because of that. I've got extra gaskets inside as well, so I'm probably going to replace that if I need to. But I'm going to go ahead and take this thing apart. Just see how bad this is. Fucking bowl doesn't even want to come off of there. I don't know what these people did. Yes, gasket shot. There we go. Oh wow. This thing is going to need a full chem dip treatment. That is some bad gas. Set this here. Oh, this thing. I don't know if that's varnish but that is in very bad shape. A little tiny hole inside there is completely plugged up. Carb itself, oh boy. It's missing a Welch plug. Got that out. It's like somebody tried to rebuild this thing and didn't know what they were doing, but that little Welch plug that goes here is completely gone. I do have a spare carb that I'm going to go ahead and try. So I'll try that first before I start attacking this. Now that carb that I actually just stuck on there was the rebuilt one that I had for that other mower, the black one that I had with the auto choke system on it. Threw that one on and it seems to work fine. So I don't know what the deal is, but that carburetor works perfectly on this lawnmower. So let's go ahead and start it and see if she'll give us a run. Battery's about to die, so hopefully it lets me do this. Well, here's the second mower. Unfortunately, my battery died while I was trying to show you guys the first one. The second one had the exact same problem. Broken flywheel key. There's part of it right there. So I just put a new flywheel key in it. I stuck another gas tank I had onto this one just because that one was so full of, gummy, old, bad gas. Same type of stuff that was in that carburetor on the other mower. And coincidentally, on this carburetor is the exact same thing. I got the bolt screw from this one, the bowl from this one, and the bowl screw from this one, and the chem dip. So let's clean it up. They were all pretty dirty. So I just cleaned out all the little passageways in this carburetor. Honestly, this one was not nearly as bad as this one was. This is the one that from the auto choke, you can tell because it's got two butterfly valves on it. And I don't even know what I'm going to do with this one, boys. It's really jacked up and it's full of crap. I mean, I could probably save it, but I'm going to have to soak it in there for hours to try and save it. So as you guys can see, everything's now put back together. Go ahead and prime it a few times. Just making sure that primer works. This thing's going to be finicky. Also, now that we know it works, go ahead and put that little panel back on. So this deck is actually in decent shape. And what I was thinking was that mower right there, it's behind the gas can. want to see if I can take the flap off of it and try and rig it onto this one. I would think it would work in some way or other. Unfortunately, the deck's a little cracked right there, so I'm going to try, Alan Marshall, you said to try some JB Weld or some sort of epoxy. I think I'll do that because this deck is still in really good condition. Here's the model number of this mower. See if she'll give us another start. Also, I just went ahead and installed a new air filter. Here's the old one. Doesn't look too bad. Looks like the original though. Fins are kind of damaged here. Might have been that it was allowing a insufficient or too sufficient amount of air passed into the carb. So I threw a new filter on it. Let's see if that made a difference. I already primed it. So something as simple as an air filter can fix a sort of missing problem. So that's why it's always good to change your air filters and stuff, you know, just as normal maintenance. On my own personal equipment, I typically change them about once every year or so, depending on how they get used. I also service, you know, the oil and everything at least once a year. Again, depending on how much it gets used. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Got some more stuff in the making, so stay tuned for future videos. You all stay classy.